So yes, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for all, and let me tell you why.
All right, so coming out of debate night one, who are the winners and losers? So first, let's take a look at the candidates here. So this is how they were situated on stage. So you got Bill de Blasio, Tim Ryan, Julian Castro, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, and John Delaney. Now, the way that I am judging this, the winners and losers, is did this debate help or hurt their campaign? And that means how will the general public, how do I think the general public will take their performances? So it's easy for me to say, well, I like this person, so they're going to do, so they did well here. Or I like this person's policy, so they did well. But let's forget all that. Let's just look at their performances and figure out who this helps and who this hurt. So when it comes to the losers, it's pretty easy, at least to pick out the top two biggest losers. So I think the obvious biggest loser for me here was Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke was situated right beside Elizabeth Warren. He got a lot of attention. He had the opportunity to hit it out of the park, to really lay out some solid, direct answers, give people some real substance, and he failed to do any of that. I mean, on the very first question that he got about the 70% tax rate, does he support a 70% marginal tax rate on the wealthiest? He was asked that question twice and was not able to directly answer it. I did a separate video on that. You can see he instead decided to speak Spanish. So it was embarrassing. I mean, it was a moment where I my mouth was wide open. I really could not believe how he was the lengths that he was going to avoid answering that question. And that's how he was throughout the entire debate. He was not answering questions directly. Again, Beto O'Rourke doesn't have a lot of substance. He's very flowery in his language and talks about, oh, how we need to come together and do this and do that. It's so fake. I mean, maybe it would have worked in the early 2000s. It's not going to work anymore. He should have run for Senate. I don't know why the hell he's on this stage. So Beto O'Rourke, big loser. John Delaney, another big loser. He was whining the whole time, whining about wanting more airtime. Look, a lot of people on the stage were not given a lot of airtime. It was sort of dictated by the polling. So actually, even that's not true. So Elizabeth Warren, I think, I have to look at the list again, but I believe she was number 3 in terms of the amount of time that she got to speak. I think Cory Booker actually got the most time. But look, to complain and complain and complain about not getting airtime, and then when he did get airtime, when John Delaney did get the airtime, not deliver anything interesting and just be completely flat and boring. John Delaney, I think, is another loser from this debate. Another loser here that I don't take any joy in saying this because I think he has some solid positions, but Jay Inslee. Jay Inslee had the least amount of time, airtime or FaceTime, and he needed to fight more, and he didn't fight enough because he's low in the polls, because a lot of people don't know him. He needed to show some real fight. He needed to show some more substance, and he had a bit of it, but I don't think it was enough to really carry him through and help grow his campaign. So I think he was also a loser in this debate. And lastly, in the big losers, Tim Ryan. So Tim Ryan's night actually wasn't terrible until the second hour, especially on the issue of Afghanistan, where Tulsi Gabbard came out and just clobbered him. So I have a separate video going into that. I think that moment, and not even just that moment, but the fact that Tim Ryan continued that fight after the debate. So because he realized he got destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard, he put out on Twitter after the debate, or his campaign manager did, a statement talking about how, oh, actually, Tim Ryan was correct, and Tulsi Gabbard, I refuse to be lectured by Tulsi Gabbard for blah, blah. I mean, it's absurd. Just take the loss, guy. I mean, but look, Tim Ryan, I guess he had to do that. I don't know. He could have been quiet, but I just don't. He's forgettable. I don't think people are really going to latch on to Tim Ryan. And he did exactly what I predicted he would do. Talk about how he's from Ohio, kind of position himself as the alternative to Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to work for him. So we're going to see, but I don't think he's really going to grow from here. Now I sort of have like this middle group of people because I don't really know where to place them because I don't think they really hurt their campaign, but I also don't think they really gained from this debate. And that's, well, first of all, Amy Klobuchar. So Amy Klobuchar, if this was me making the list here and just what my opinion is, I would say she's a huge loser. She was completely boring. I don't think she offered anything. But some people, I think, maybe thought she was okay, or she maintained her current campaign. So, I mean, I was watching MSNBC after the debate, and Nicole Wallace on MSNBC thought Amy Klobuchar was fantastic. She thought Amy Klobuchar was folksy and came off great. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. But with that said, if there are more Nicole Wallaces out there, and there are, some rich suburban moms out there that may like Amy Klobuchar. So I think she'll maintain what she has, but I don't think she's going to grow from this debate. Another person who I think will maintain their status is Cory Booker. So Cory Booker had a lot of screen time. His answers were solid. I don't think he goes far enough, but Cory Booker, I think, at least knows who he is, or at the very least is able to fake who he is. So, I mean, there was one moment where he talked about how we have to reel in the private insurance companies. This is the guy that voted against importing generic drugs from Canada. So it's kind of weird when he was just working, essentially voting on policy in favor of private pharmaceutical companies, that he's now talking about fighting back against them. So, but I mean, that's Cory Booker. So if you know who Cory Booker is, that's who he is. I don't think he's somebody that you should support. I don't think he's someone you can really trust. But I did think he maintained who he is on that stage, and was able to at least not crash and burn in the process. Now, the winners of this debate. So the lowest on this list, but I still think counts as a winner, is Julian Castro. So Julian Castro, I thought, did a fairly good job. I think this actually his performance here will grow his campaign. I thought he had the best answers when it came to immigration. He challenged Beto O'Rourke on immigration and challenged him hard. I mean, he really went after him. So I think Julian Castro, in showing that fight and showing his depth of knowledge on the issue of immigration and on some other issues as well, he gave solid answers. So again, this is not somebody that I would support, but I can see, because of his performance here, I can see Julian Castro potentially benefiting from this debate. Next up in the winners, Tulsi Gabbard. So this one for me was a bit of a mix until I saw the results from the debate. So I thought she started off slow. Her first answer, when she was asked about equal pay, and then she went into a discussion about foreign policy, it was really odd. But then in that last hour and a few other answers, she was able to really save her performance. And when she went after Tim Ryan and just completely destroyed him on the issue of Afghanistan and foreign policy, that helped to raise her profile in that moment. And if you look at Google Trends, so Google Trends tweeted out afterwards the most searched candidates before and after the debate. Tulsi Gabbard was the most searched candidate in the vast majority of the country after the debate. So based on those kinds of metrics, and there are also some informal polls out there showing that Tulsi Gabbard was the winner of the debate. So based on those kinds of metrics, I think she is a winner and will gain from this debate. Next winner, Elizabeth Warren. Now, for Warren, I have a clip here because there is a moment in this debate that honestly surprised me.
Many people watching at home have health insurance coverage through their employer. Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Just a show of hands, start off with. All right, well.
So yes, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for All, and let me tell you why. I spent a big chunk of my life studying why families go broke. And one of the number one reasons is the cost of health care, medical bills. And that's not just for people who don't have insurance. It's for people who have insurance. Look at the business model of an insurance company. It's to bring in as many dollars as they can in premiums and to pay out as few dollars as possible for your health care. That leaves families with rising premiums, rising co-pays, and fighting with insurance companies to try to get the health care that their doctors say that they and their children need. Medicare for All solves that problem. And I understand there are a lot of politicians who say, oh, it's just not possible, we just can't do it, have a lot of political reasons for this. What they're really telling you is they just won't fight for it. Well, health care is a basic human right, and I will fight for basic human rights. That means
There you go. I thought that was maybe the best answer of the entire night. She surprised me with her clear and just solid support for Medicare for All. So she's been wavering on the issue of healthcare. She's talked about, the goal being Medicare for all, but then there could be many ways to get there, and talk about all these other different plans and maybe a public option and maybe this, maybe that. But here she committed herself. She committed herself to Medicare for all and said the words, "I'm with Bernie on this." I mean, you can't ask for a better answer. So I thought that was incredible. I think her entire performance here was solid. She dodged some bullets in terms of not having to discuss foreign policy. I don't think she was even asked about climate change, oddly enough. I mean, the whole climate change discussion was barely a topic at all. But just, based on Warren's performance, I think she will absolutely continue her growth in the polls because of this debate. The last, and certainly not least, of the winners, and maybe for me the biggest surprise in terms of a candidate on stage, Bill de Blasio. So Bill de Blasio, New York City mayor. Look, a lot of us know he's progressive, but he's also been weird on some positions, at least when it came to Amazon potentially moving their headquarters to New York City, and him supporting Amazon in that. Meanwhile, you had AOC, Bernie, and others on the other side of that issue. So de Blasio, I don't necessarily think he's committed to these positions, but if you're looking at this based on a performance, Bill de Blasio, I think, did an incredible job. Here are some highlights.
But let me tell you, what we're hearing here already in the first round of questions is that battle for the heart and soul of our party. I want to make it clear. This is supposed to be the party of working people. Yes, we're supposed to be for a 70% tax rate on the wealthy. Yes, we're supposed to be for free college, free public college for our young people. We are supposed to break up big corporations when they're not serving our democracy. This Democratic Party has to be strong and bold and progressive.
Just to be very clear, I'll give you 10 seconds. Would you replace private insurance?
No, I think that choice is fundamental to our ability to get everybody cared for.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans. When you talk about the co-pays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses, it's not working. The way that American citizens have been told that immigrants somehow created their misery and their pain and their challenges. For all the American citizens out there who feel you're falling behind, who feel the American dream's not working for you, the immigrants didn't do that to you. The big corporations did that to you. The 1% did that to you. What about the War Powers Act being a part of that equation? With deep respect to the congressman, look, we've learned of painful lessons as Americans, that we've gone to war without congressional authorization. And look, this is very personal for me. I know the cost of war. My dad served in the Pacific in World War II in the U.S. Army. Battle of Okinawa, had half his leg blown off, and he came home with scars, both physical and emotional, and he did not recover. He spiraled downward, and he ultimately took his own life. And that battle didn't kill him, but that war did. Well, Democrats and Republicans, both in the Congress, have not challenged presidents and have let them get away with running the military without the congressional approval. We learned a lesson in Vietnam we seem to have forgotten. And the decisions have to be made by the United States Congress.
So Bill de Blasio was fantastic. I mean, he drew the line when it came to talking about what Democrats should be standing for, how they should be standing up for working people, how they should support a $15 minimum wage, how they should support Medicare for all. And then he pulled that story out of his pocket about his dad. I didn't even know about that. I mean, that was a moment where I actually felt something. Usually when these candidates pull out stories like this, it's just like you roll your eyes and okay, like, oh, of course you're just trying to, appeal to people. But that moment seemed genuine to me. All of it seemed genuine to me, except for his stupid answer. This would have been a perfect performance if he didn't say that the biggest threat to the United States is Russia. I mean, are you serious, dude? There are other candidates on stage that I would expect that out of. I didn't expect that out of Bill de Blasio. It was almost like a wink and a nod to the MSNBC audience because there was no other reason to say Russia to that answer. The answer really is climate change. I mean, that's the answer. But otherwise, solid job from Bill de Blasio. And I think that, above and beyond, I think that the two biggest winners out of this night was Elizabeth Warren and Bill de Blasio. And as I said, Tulsi Gabbard, the only reason I don't put her in that top two is because I thought she was flat, at least for the first hour until she kind of picked up a bit. But this was a great night. I got a lot more out of this debate than I expected. It was more of a debate than I expected it to be because of the short answers, because of the 30-second responses, because of those rules. I didn't think we would get too much substance out of this debate, but I was wrong. So now I'm looking forward to night two.